Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Agent, Power Virtual Agent. In today's episode, we will look into variables and how to use Power Automate flows from within Power Virtual Agent. Coming up right after the intro. All right, let's jump right into it and look at today's agenda. So, as I said, we'll look into variables. We did touch upon briefly on variables in the last episode, which was episode 3, Understanding Entities. That's where we used it. As far as I can recall, it was I think laptops as entities, and the options were MacBook, Lenovo, IBM, etc. So that's where we use variables in order to capture users' response based on what they're asking. Then we will look at actions via Power Automate, so call an action from within Power Virtual Agents, and how to use variables with Power Automate, which can provide Power Automate an input as well as PVN input. Power Automate will provide an output which will become the response for the user, or it can be used by the bot as a response and a message for the user. So let's look into it. First of all, understanding what are variables. So they are dynamic content. As you can see on the screen, just like office locations, brand names, as I gave you an example of brand names of laptops last time as well. And then responses can be saved as variables as well. So for example, if the customer says yes or no, in this case, we will use an entity called Boolean, having options called yes and no, wherein if the user says yes, that would be saved as user's response. Yep. Then bot can use it in a response too, as I said earlier. If the user has responded yes, the bot can message that, okay, you have replied yes, or this is a variable. Actually, it can be yes or no to my previous question. Hence, you have to go this route or that route, depends on the answer selected as variable. Variables are always associated with entities. I would not say always, but I think mostly they're associated with entities. In some cases, like if you're using a string response, it's obviously not associated to entity because the data is not extracted as you defined in an entity. So strings, other than strings, I think most of it is associated with entities when we talk about variables. Okay, so let me just quickly jump into the PVA environment so I can show you how you can use variables and Power Automate. Okay, so we go here. I've clicked on topics. If you haven't watched episode 2, please do. Link is coming up right now. And what I've done quickly is created a topic called invoice. If I click on it, you'll see there are 5 or 6 triggered phrases here, like send me an invoice, can I get my invoice, I need my invoice, etc., etc. But what I've created this topic, and it might not have full relevance to the example I'm going to demonstrate, wherein I'm asking about amount and invoice both. So these are my trigger phrases. Let's plan out our conversation path. If somebody asks us one of these in the chat, what happens? So I'll click on go to authoring canvas and let it open. So somebody says, can I get my invoice, or can I get to know my invoice amount? The bot says, I can help you with that. The next thing should be ask a question. For example, the next thing which we can ask, do you know your invoice number, right? So we can ask that. And in this case, the answer can be either yes or no. So we are going to use a Boolean, and we will save this response as customer's response. Okay, so this is my variable here because it can be either yes or no. So we save it as customer response. Now we know because it's a Boolean, we are going to create a condition. If it's yes, we will do something. If it's no, we'll do something. So quickly creating a condition, add a condition, select a variable, which is customer's response is equal to false. So although it's yes and no there, but in the backend it saves as true false. So we'll say false. And if it comes to false, what we'll do is end conversation by transferring to the agent, saying that unverified customer, right? So we have done, if a customer select no, we have done that part. Now, if they say yes, we will ask further question, which would be enter your invoice number. Okay. Before that, let me tell you this thing. So cancel. In the conditions, it was showing customer response equal to false and all of the condition, because there's only one more condition, so it shows this. If it was something else, let's say multiple choice, you will get more conditions here, so don't worry about that bit. Okay, enter your invoice number. In this case, it's not a multiple choice option. It's basically strings, so it uses entire response. This is what we are going to use. Entire response of the user, and we will save it as invoice number, right, and done. Now, once we get that, what we need to do now is fetch the details of this invoice number, and for that matter, we would need a Power Automate flow. So what we'll say here, call in action. This is where you can get enable or create flows right from here. So I'll click call in action. Now I will show you two things. One would be authenticate this, which we'll talk about in next episode. Second one is create a flow. As soon as I hit create a flow, it gives me a template. Okay, so that's your template here, right here. There's an input and there's an output, right? So let me just quickly change the name. PVA tells the amount of invoice. So I save it like that. Now add an input. We have a text input where we have used the string option. So what we are going to say here is string underscore input. Now don't look at me like that. I know I'm not into code or anything like that, and because it's comparatively new in the market, PVA, the flow full capabilities, I personally have not found them here. I remember it used to be like you have to use HTTP request, and I considered that code, and I'm all about the no code thing, so I didn't use that at that time. Now what they've done, they've progressed, and now we can use formulas here, so it's much better. But I'm sure in the near future it will become much more dynamic, like we use it in other connectors or in other scenarios apart from PVAs. And you will see the examples very soon. So input here, you can rename it to, let's say, invoice number if you wish. It's not necessary. Okay, now what we are going to do is add an output, but we don't have an output yet because we need to still look for that invoice in the system. So you remember how you do, if you have not watched TGIF, right? Thank God it's Flow. That was one of my series on Power Automate. Go watch it now. The link is coming up right now. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go into the database and check that invoice number and look at the details, for example, amount, tax, total amount, etc. Okay, so what we'll do here is click add an action, and we will say list records. And I'm using CDS, so I'll just say list records here. Now select the environment, I'll select my environment. I want to look into invoices. Now, these are not the restricted entity invoices. I have created a custom entity invoice with very basic fields like amount, tax, etc. Okay. Invoice. Okay, correct. And now what I'll do here is I'll filter query here where I would say, what's the name of my field? I'll have to go here, check my entities. What was the name of my field? Invoice. And I've got a field invoice number here, so I'll just copy that and I'll put it in my flow saying that this is equal to invoice number, which is my input coming from here, and I'll do these things, right? And I only need the top one record. I only need one record because if there are more than one, it would become an issue. So just to make sure that we're getting just one record, what I'm going to do here is add a compose function, and just type input, and I will add this compose function there, and this input I will do, under expression. So this is, there are two formulas. One is this input expression and second one is output expression. And that's what I'm trying to show you, which you would need if you want to fetch data from Power Automate to be able to display it in your PVA. And this is no code, like this is just a formula. Just remember that or write it somewhere. So we'll say first and put a bracket, body, and after that another bracket, and in here we will say list underscore records, and then bracket close question mark, and then we'll use these square brackets and we will say value, and that's it. That we will apply here, right? That is good. We've got that now. Now the next one is we need outputs here to be able to send it to our PVA, right? The chatbot requires some information about the invoice. And in our case, we are using amount, tax, and total amount. So I'll add an input here. Text, another input text, another input text. Okay, here I'll write amount, tax, total amount. Okay, and this now becomes, so this would be another expression which I was talking about, output expression, right? So what you need to do is go to expressions, write outputs like this, and then compose, and then question mark, and then I think these ones, square brackets, and then your field's schema name. So in my case, the last one I copied, I guess, was this. Now we don't need the invoice number, we need amount here. So amount goes like this, okay? And I'll just copy it so I'm able to change it quickly. Tax, again, go to expression, copy the last one, I'll change this to tax. Okay, and then total amount. Again, to expression, copy that, and it was total amount. And that's it, okay? Now we want that we have provided this information over the chat. We also want this information to be sent via email. So what we'll do is add a new step, and we will pick up this email quickly. You can pick up any one you want. Okay, you know what? I'm missing a step here. I should actually get record of the customer, which we've got here. So we've got an invoice. From invoice, we'll fetch the customer so that we can send out the email, because otherwise we'll have to provide a static email address, which I don't want. So I'll add that step here, add actions, and then get record. Here I'll select the environment. Pretty simple. I need accounts, the first entity, load it, accounts, and the item identifier would be, we got it from our invoice. When I said list records, from there I'll get my customer. So I got that, right? Now in the send email, I can select customer's email, which would be under get record, just not populated yet. You know what? I'm supposed to send an email from here, and then here I'll select my email address. So email here, right? So I've got the email here. I'll delete the step, it's of no use. Okay, a subject, your invoice, right? Now the main thing here is that the dynamic values are not populating. So you can see the customer here, but in the invoice, there's nothing. So you've only got list records, invoice number, nothing else. So how we'll do it is important. Again, it would be the output formulas. So very simple. What we'll say is invoice number, and we'll paste the expression here, and we will say invoice number, right? And the second line here would be for customer, whosoever is the customer, go to expression, paste the same formula, change the field name to whatever it is in your case, customer, and this time we are only picking up total amount, right? You can also include things like due date, created on, paid on, status, etc. But I'm just picking up 3 fields here, and I will change the total amount to total amount, and okay. So I have now created this Power Automate flow. Now remember, if you'll go and try and search for this template, let me show it to you. Let me duplicate this and go here and save this, so that we have saved it, and go to home, right, and search for Power Virtual Agent. And you will get nothing. Nothing is Power Virtual Agent, right? So basically you can only create it from within PVA. Cool. So now you know that. Now we'll go here and use this entire response. Now we'll add an action. So call an action. So our flow now must be visible here, and we will just add the inputs and outputs. So you can see PVA tells the amount of invoice. I'll put it here, and it's asking what's the invoice number variable. So what is provided to us here in the previous step, we put it here so that the Power Automate flow can be invoked or triggered, right? Now the flow is providing us 3 different variables here: amount, tax, and total amount, and all 3 of them we took as output type text, right? What we'll do now is show a message and say your amount due is, I will select the variable here. Okay, your amount due, let's say for invoice number, and then we'll put the invoice number variable here as well. So we're using the customer's response as a variable, right? Is amount this plus tax, or we'll say GST this, making it a total of, and then we will select the total amount. So that's done. And then to end the message, what we'll say here is an email has been sent to your registered email address, right? And then we will finally end our conversation with survey. Okay, now I'll quickly save this and let's try it out. And if I receive an email, I will show it to you. Okay, and on the right, you'll be able to see the conversation path, how it's going. So we can test it out. Do subscribe to my channel if you come here often. Give it a big thumbs up if you like it and it has solved your issue or any problem you were facing. If you have any comments or suggestions, do type it in the comment section. Okay, how I'll start my chat is saying send me my invoice details, or I could have said tell me my invoice details. So I'll send that. You see that this is done, like it has reached this part, and now it's waiting for one of the conditions to be fulfilled. So what we'll say is yes. When we say yes, it will move further. So it has now moved here, asking us about the invoice number. So my invoice number is 12345. I'll enter that and then enter, right? Now it has moved on to invoking the flow. Okay. Something has gone wrong. Okay, so the issue was here, for some reason the quotes were missing, although I remember I put it in, but maybe I didn't save it or whatever. That might have been the issue. Let's try it again. Tell me my invoice details. Yes, I will say. So the conversation part is this way. Now it's waiting for the invoice number, so I provide that. And I should invoke my flow. So now it says your amount due for invoice number this is 200 plus GST 20, making it a total of 220. An email has been sent to your registered email address. Did that answer your question? Because we asked to send it with a survey. So we can say yes or no. But before that, what we want to see whether I have received an email or not, because if you go to this entity's data, my email is provided in this. Let me just click on edit record. The account selected there is DIYD365 and my email is provided there, and hence I'm receiving this email. So you see here, invoice number this, customer this, total amount this. Now I know why customer is not populated, and that's my mistake. Let me tell you why. So I should have said there, here, sorry, in the email thing. What I've done, I've said customer, this thing, it should be actually coming from here, get record. So I'll have to put another formula here to be able to get the customer name, right? Or actually, I can just do this, account name from here and save it. And it has saved. Let's try it again and see if it's populate. I'm sure it will, because I've fetched the record here. You can see get record, so it should work. Let's try email once more. Send me invoice details. Okay, just one more time and we should be done. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And okay, it has provided me the details. Now let's go to 323. This is the old one. I've just received the new one, and you can see now the customer name is populated because I was putting in formula the output expression which was related to invoice. So that's why it wasn't there. Cool. That brings us to the end of today's episode. The next episode most probably would be on authentication of the users, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, do give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you come here often. Thanks. Have a great day.